Praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, creator of the universe, Lord of the worlds, sustainer, cherisher, nourisher of one and all. And salutations and blessings upon Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Blessings upon all his companions. Blessings upon the four illustrious Imams, namely Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, Malik ibn Anas rahimahullah, Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i rahimahullah, Ahmad ibn Hanbal yarhamuhumullahu jami'a. Blessings upon all those who have followed Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, all those who are following him, may Allah make us from amongst them, and all those who will follow him until the day of Qiyamah, may Allah make our offspring from amongst them. Honored ulama and respected gathering of brothers and sisters, mothers and daughters, as well as sons. Today I wish to speak on a very important topic. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant me the acceptance, and yourselves as well, that what is said comes from the heart to the heart. And I make a prayer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the beginning of this talk. Allahumma la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. O Allah, definitely we do not know anything besides that which you have taught us, for indeed you are the owner of knowledge. You are most knowledgeable, most wise. Grant us a little bit of your knowledge and wisdom. Ameen. We all know that in society we have leaders. These leaders are there. Some of us might not know how the leaders are there, but in most cases the leaders are chosen and elected and selected by the masses. What type of leader would we choose? That question I leave for you to answer. But I can help you think. If you were to be asked the question, what type of leader would you choose? You would definitely choose someone who has the qualities of leadership, in brief. Someone who is truthful, who is honest, who does not have bad habits. Someone who has a say, someone who is respected in society and community. Someone whose history speaks volumes as to his goodness. Someone whose goodness exceeds his bad and evil. These are the type of leaders that we would elect. Similarly, if we did not have a say as to the imam we have in our masjid, or the leaders within our own communities, we would always still find that these leaders have good qualities. They are not womanizers, may Allah protect us. And in the case of women, I think I can use the word manizers. May Allah save us all. They are not from amongst those who are drunkards. They are not addicted to drugs. They have not pierced their ears as men, nor have they pierced their belly buttons. And at times, some people go as far as piercing their private parts. May Allah save us and protect us. But the leaders of our communities and our cities and our countries definitely do not have their private parts pierced. The reason I am raising this is to make it very clear that someone somewhere is benefiting by spreading mischief on earth. If a person would like to lead and he wants to be the only one without any threat to his leadership to lead, he needs to ensure that the masses are engaged in filthy activity that will ensure and make sure that they will never be able to compete with him. When we are Muslims, we are taught the qualities of leadership, male and female. We are supposed to be honest, straightforward. What we utter from our mouths is supposed to be carefully selected and chosen. The words we speak must be the most beautiful of words. We are supposed to be the most polite, the most decent, the most helpful. We are supposed to be the furthest away from drinking, from drugs, from homosexuality, from the tattooing of the body in various places, from cutting our hair different sizes, and from piercing the body in all silly places, and so on. I've just mentioned a few. Because we are meant to be those who are dignified, automatically every Muslim is supposed to be a potential leader. Every Muslim is supposed to be a person who can be elected into a post of leadership, if only you followed Islam. And if only we were true Muslims, every single one of us would be able to control our sexual desires, the inclination towards the opposite sex, which is very natural. Islam teaches us to harness it and to control it and to only meet your desires in a halal manner. May Allah grant us chastity and modesty, and may Allah protect us. For this reason, the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and remember, he was the leader of leaders. There is no doubt that whatever he taught was brilliance. It was the height of completeness and kamal. مَن يَضْمَن لِي مَا بَيْنَ لِحْيَيْهِ وَمَا بَيْنَ فَخِذَيْهِ أَضْمَن لَهُ الْجَنَّةِ. Whosoever can guarantee for me the correct use of his tongue, that which lies between his cheeks, and the correct use of that which lies between his thighs, the private parts, male and female, I guarantee for them Jannah. It is a very simple hadith, but it is not very easy to execute and to follow. May Allah grant us the ability and acceptance to control our tongues and our private parts. If you guarantee the correct use of these two, you can smile all the way. The malaika will come to you at the point of death and say, O worshipper of Allah, recite the shahada, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. You are about to leave this earth, and the last words as you leave this earth will be that particular shahada. May Allah grant it to us. May He take us away with a smile. Why? Because every time we wanted to utter words with our tongues, we asked ourselves, is this what is required? Is this what is needed? Is this what the sunnah is? Is this what the Prophet would have said had he spoken? And if it is not the case, we should remain hush and silent. When you have used your tongue in evil, do you really think that one day when it means the most, you will then use it in good? But if you have constantly used your tongue in good, believe me, the day it is most needed, only goodness will come out of that tongue. May Allah grant that to us. So these are the qualities of leadership. Those non-Muslims who would like to lead, they happen to be leading. They have created a cartel. Why? Because they want to lead, and they know that every other community and nation and people, every other group of people is easy to dissolve besides the Muslims. If you take a look at the culture in the West, you are regarded as totally free, a person who is not oppressed. When you wear a miniskirt, when you have sex with everyone that you see on the road, and when your statements are dirty and filthy, you are regarded as a person, a member of the free world. It is a fact. The minute you wear Islamic dressing or any form of cultural dressing, let us take a look at the African traditional dress, which is brilliant and conforms to Islam. It was dissolved by Western ideology, and those who have tried to inculcate a little bit of sense in the masses to say, why did you remove the long piece of cloth which was flowery and beautiful that you had as a skirt, and the piece of cloth that you used to wear at the top, and the piece of cloth that you used to tie on your head, why did you remove it? they will say, you are backward. Let me inform you today, anyone who follows any culture of the old times will always be a more decent person than a person who follows the culture of his lusts and desires. If you take a look at the Victorian era in Great Britain, not very long ago, the women used to dress in long dresses, and they used to wear hats which would cover their faces, even with nets that would actually come down to cover their faces. But then when those who wanted to rule saw that there is something wrong, if we are to go into leadership, we will have too much competition. They began to sell an idea to the public. Follow your desires and you will be a free person. They came to this world with what is known as freedom of expression, freedom of belief, freedom of this and that, freedom of choice. And by selling this to the world, they began to regard a person who is a gay as someone who belongs to the free world. They have the right to be gay. Na'udhu billah. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks in the Quran, Surah At-Tin, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Indeed, we have created man in the best of postures, with the best brain possible. And thereafter, besides those who believe, we have reduced the rest to worse than the worst. Asfala safilin, worse than the worst. Besides those who believe, which means there is an exception to this. If you believe and you do good deeds, you will always be a potential leader. The animals are regarded as worse than us. They have brains. They use those brains. An animal, if you are to train a dog, and I was reading a book 2 weeks ago about training dogs, because we have become like animals, we behave like animals. So sometimes we need to read the books of how to train animals in order to train our own children. It's a fact. They say when you want to train a dog, you must only be positive. You cannot be negative. When the dog does something wrong, especially if it is an Alsatian or a dog, a Doberman they call it, do not punish it, but when it does something correct, you must reward it. So it will understand that whenever I do this, I will be rewarded. If you are to punish it, it will become more vicious. It might turn on you one day. Even the dogs have started changing. Today with our children, when you warn them, they don't want a warning. So what do we do now? When they do anything correct, we've got to tell them, well done. Excellent. What you've done is extremely positive. This is the condition that we have dropped ourselves to. If a cow is given food at 6:30 in the morning by a certain gentleman, the minute the gentleman comes and the time strikes 6:29, without being told, the cows know there is goodness from this direction, they will all come to that direction. Because they have understanding, they've got brains also. Whereas if there is a man, every day he beats a cow and he inflicts pain upon it, whenever that man is seen, you will find the cows running away. Moments before I came here, we were talking about cows. And I was mentioning to the brothers, saying, do you know that if a cow has seen even once the place of slaughter, the day it is being driven there, it will put up a battle before it gets there. It knows automatically this is an evil place. All my brothers and sisters who have gone here have not returned. So even a cow understands what is good and bad. But today, we fall prey to the forces of the West, basically. Those forces that are calling us to the so-called freedoms, which are literal whirlpools of destruction. Now let me take you further. Would you ever vote? Would you ever have an imam of a masjid or vote for him or elect him if he is an open, outright homosexual? I see everyone says no. Would you ever vote for an imam who has a big earring on his ear? Never. He can be a top reciter, but if his belly is pierced and he's got a massive ring sticking out of there, you won't want to listen to the Quran he reads. Similarly, would you ever vote for a leader in your own city here or in your country who is such a drunkard that half his life he doesn't know what he is saying? Addicted to alcohol? You wouldn't. Would you ever vote for a person who is so addicted to drugs that he cannot do without it? No. So now those who want to lead and do not want anybody to come in their way need to think of a plan of how to suck people into the whirlpool of destruction, that of drugs and alcohol and homosexuality and this type of so-called freedom, so that once they are sucked into it, they will never ever be potential leaders again. This is the beginning. Now we should understand, O children who are here today, O you who will listen to me at some point or another, remember, stay away as far as possible from drugs and alcohol and homosexuality. Control your sexual activity. Make sure it is within the confines of Islam and the Sharia. Because if you do not, you will then not be a potential leader. Not even in your own home will you ever be able to lead your own children in your house when you yourself is a so-called drug addict. May Allah protect us all. So the first message goes out to those youngsters and those who have never tried drugs and alcohol in their lives. Remember, the environment out there is very pulling. Whenever there is a whirlpool, the waters go deeper and deeper and the entire current flows in that direction. You have got to row the other way and you need greater muscle in order to row in the opposite direction. May Allah grant us the rowing in the opposite direction. And may He grant us the rowing towards Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam's way of life. That is the first message, and I have relayed it. Do not even try a cigarette. The youngsters who are here today, that is the beginning of destruction. Those who smoke will definitely tell you that, do you know what? It's a bad habit. Even if your father smokes or your mother, may Allah save our women folk from this very, very disastrous habit. They will tell you as smokers, my dear son, my dear daughter, it's the last thing I want you to do. Because now they know they are addicted. They are part and parcel of it. Those who have been rehabilitated from a drug addiction, may Allah protect all those who have been involved in drugs in one way or another and save them from this habit and take them out of it. They will confirm after they come out of that habit that it is the worst habit. Those who are on drugs would like to leave it if only they knew how to. And that is going to be the second part of this talk. But as I said, the first is concentrated upon those who have not tried anything. Remember, don't ever make that mistake. I always tell the youngsters, and it is a statement that I wish you could understand, and I hope you don't misunderstand it. If a boy comes to me and says, do you know I have a girlfriend? Or a girl comes and says, I have a boyfriend and I'm madly in love, I can help them, because the worst scenario is we can get the nikah done. There is a halal way out of that. That is the worst scenario. But if a youngster comes to me and says, you know what, I am a drug addict. The question I want to pose to you today, when it comes to the opposite sex, Allah knows that there is something within you that inclines you to it. So Allah has made a halal way out so that you can fulfill those desires at some point. But when it comes to alcohol and drugs, believe me, there is no goodness in it at all. For that reason, Allah has never ever kept a halal way out of that. There is no ways that that thing can be made halal for you. The only help I can offer you is to try and counsel you to come out of that habit. That is the only solution. So for this reason, my dear youth, and those of us who have been fortunate enough not to get into these habits, the message is loud and clear. Prevention is better than cure. We've heard that 1,001 times. Dirhamu wiqayatin khayrum min qintari ilaj, as the Arabic saying goes. A small amount of effort that is required and expense that is required to protect yourself and to prevent is better than a mountain's worth of medication to solve the problem, to cure. The second stage, oh you who are involved in this bad habit, we need you. You are tomorrow's leaders. Leave the habit, it is not too late. That is the message I have. When a child is young, baby, the child urinates anywhere and everywhere. For this reason, in order to save ourselves from embarrassment, we love the child, but we know that this child might disgrace us by urinating on someone's beautiful carpet, in someone's beautiful car, in the lounge, on someone's laps. So we put on a nappy on the child so that when it urinates in that nappy and does not cause a problem. But do we hate a child because they urinate? Everyone will say, no ways, we don't hate the child. But we will make sure that when the child gets to 2 years or 3 years, a little bit more, a little bit less, we train the child, something known as nappy training. And there are many accidents that will occur during nappy training, whereas you do not hate the child for making that accident. You will clean it up, but you will hate the urination. Why am I saying this? Because we must understand